Y'all, this live U-turn just brought so much drama to this episode. Overall, this episode just did not disappoint, and it was even kind of sort of like watching Big Brother all over again. Of course, we have a lot of juicy social strategy going on in this episode, and I'm excited to break it all down. But before I dive into all of that, of course, I'm going to ask if y'all would please hit that subscribe button. Also, before we get started, if you could please take a moment to hit that like button too, I would really appreciate it because it really helps out my videos with the algorithm. And now that all the housekeeping is out the way, let's get started. So has all the teams heading to Athens, where they are going to find out pretty much immediately that they're about to do a live U-turn vote. Because that means they're about to sabotage each other right to their faces. Now, they have done this before on the show, but I think especially now with all of these Big Brother players who actually know each other in the real world, just makes things way messier and juicier and honestly better TV. And of course, this is also a double U-turn, meaning that two teams are gonna have to do this punishment, which if y'all know anything about me, you already know that the two people that I am sprinting to U-turn during this thing are Eric and Tucker and Jazz and Jag. Like, duh, right? I mean, that's totally the obvious move, and we do see most people try to vote this way, or at the very least do some sort of combination of these two teams. Like, for example, we see that Joseph and Adam don't really want to vote for Jazz and Jag here because they feel like they're bros because of that train wreck alliance. And on the other hand, we hear that Chelsie doesn't really want to vote for Tucker here because apparently she still feels bad for voting him out during their Big Brother season, which I guess, but I mean, it's also like this is an entirely different game, and him and Eric have been like dusting y'all every single chance they get during this race. So now as we see, Tucker and Eric do end up getting U-turned first, and now the second vote is gonna come between Jag and Taylor and Kyland. Now let's get into some of the drama with these votes, because it seems like the main tension here seems to come between Jag and Taylor. As we see, Jag is gonna go on to U-turn Taylor and Kyland here, but Taylor and Kyland honestly aren't even considering them at all because they thought that they've been cool so far this season, especially with the express pass thing and all that. Now, I really don't think it's a bad move for the brothers to target Taylor and Kyland here, if I'm being honest. But the issue is their reasoning for doing all this is because they overheard a rumor that Taylor and Kyland were going to come for them, which of course was never really true. And all of that is coming from Eric doing all that eavesdropping a few episodes ago, and now it's just all exploding into this big mess.
We were talking about the previous U-turn, not saying we're going to U-turn the boys in the future. If we're being really honest, I was talking about how I feel really uncomfortable on this race because guys are dominating this race, and it's really frustrating as a woman.
Taylor is obviously really frustrated here because, again, from her perspective, they've always been cool and she was never gonna vote for Jazz and Jag in the first place. But I mean, at the same time, since they've never really been in a direct alliance, maybe the feeling is that nobody really owes each other loyalty at the end of the day. So now, because of all of this happening, this is going to now lead between more drama between Taylor and Izzy. Because as we see, Taylor and Kyland end up U-turning Izzy and Paige here, even though Taylor gave that big speech about women's teams not doing as good and all that stuff. Now, a lot of people were out there dragging Taylor for this, which I do get because it definitely wasn't the best look, and I totally understand how it could come across as hypocritical. But at the same time, like I was saying earlier, it's not like they were ever like aligned or anything like that, so they really don't owe each other any loyalty. But yeah, overall, the timing was still definitely so terrible because Taylor had just given up this big speech and made a big deal out of all this. So now here with this second vote, things do get a little bit interesting because if this vote turns out to be a tie once again, then both teams are going to get U-turned, making that 3 total teams at a disadvantage out of 6. Now, something like this is great news if you're one of the safe teams, obviously, but just from a game design perspective, I personally really hate this. Now, don't get me wrong, because I love this messy idea in general. I just think that it would have been a lot more effective if this would have happened earlier in the season when there were way more teams to choose from. I don't know, that's just me. And this vote is going to lead to our third little piece of drama in this episode, y'all, because as we see, Joseph is out there really struggling with this vote. He didn't really want to vote for his bro Jag because they were in that alliance together, But he also couldn't vote for his long-lost love, Taylor, right? And even though, yes, this is a game and it's a competition and all that good stuff, I'm sure it's also really, really hard to betray somebody you consider like a real-life friend right to their face like that, you know? I mean, you could technically argue that Joseph definitely seems a lot closer to Taylor than Jag, but hey, that is all Joseph's business, okay? So as we see, Adam pretty much has to take the reins here and be an alpha and decide on who they vote for. And thankfully, he ends up making what I believe to be the correct move, which is making the vote a tie and sending both teams in to be U-turned. Which, again, friendship aside, is statistically the better choice for them to make. But the thing that really took me out here, y'all, was just how cocky Tucker and Eric were with this whole entire vote. You could just tell that as soon as they found out that Kyland and Taylor were going to be sent in, they just thought they had this in the bag and they would be able to dust those two with ease.
I went for the draw.
Overall, I just really appreciated this whole voting scene. I thought it was great, very reminiscent of actual Big Brother. Yes, production probably could have done a better job with the edit of explaining all the drama, but you know what? Pretty cool scene to watch nonetheless. Now, let's move on to the first detour of this leg, where the teams pretty much must decide between busking in the streets for money or taste testing olives. Now, me, I'm just not an olive girly at all, okay? So I would hate this one. Like, I could probably do olive oils, but that is literally as far as it goes. I hate them so much, y'all. They're actually just one of my no-go foods in general. I don't eat olives, I don't eat raisins, and I don't eat ass, okay? Not trying to yuck anybody's yum, but that's just not for me. Plus, that challenge really just seemed like a toss-up anyway. Some of the teams were getting it right on the first time, but others were like really, really struggling a lot. So personally, I would much rather do the busking thing if I had the choice. I mean, yeah, it probably feels a little bit awkward at first, but especially when you have cameras around following you like that, I feel like it's way easier to grab a crowd and to get somebody to give you money. A lot of people out there love the camera. They just want their little 15 minutes of fame, and they will gladly hand over €1 for the chance to be on TV for a second, you know? The next roadblock after that is a very straightforward one, literally just rolling this giant ass rock up this giant ass hill. I thought this challenge went by pretty quickly on the show, and honestly, it was a little bit boring to watch if I'm telling the truth. But I did like how the producers were able to weave some Greek mythology into the game, so that was cute enough there. And eventually we get to our last roadblock of this leg, where the teams must memorize and recite all of the lowercase letters of the Greek alphabet. This competition is obviously just pure memorization, but obviously it helps if you already know some of the letters, like some of the players did. Like, for example, we saw Taylor and Paige already knew some of the letters, so they were able to beast through pretty fast, but the real MVP for this episode to me goes to Chelsie, okay? Because she just beasts through this entire comp. Like, Chelsie and her dad were actually lost and behind throughout most of the leg because, surprise, surprise, they got turned around, couldn't figure out their navigation. I mean, seriously, what else is new? But Chelsie is able to beast through this last competition so quick that her and her dad actually end up winning second place here, which is the highest they've ever gotten in this game. And of course, the worst performance by far in this episode came from Tucker. I honestly can't even believe I'm saying that, but he struggles with this one bad, y'all. Like, really, really bad. Like, it's actually a little cringe to watch. Like, it got to the point where him and Eric were literally the only people left trying to complete that challenge, which was just so gaggy to me because they've been front runners like this entire race so far. In the end, Jazz and Jag end up in first place despite being U-turned, which is actually an amazing race record because no team has ever done that before, so good for them. Even though it is very annoying just watching them win all the time, I gotta say they are very impressive and they do deserve the wins that they've been getting. Everyone else rolls in more or less at the same time, but it all comes down between Tucker and Taylor at the end, and really it only looked like there were a few minutes between the teams. But as we see, Tucker and Eric are the ones to come in last place and are officially eliminated here, and the crowd just goes wild.
Got it, guys. Good job.
Everybody was just like so happy to see them gone, which is crazy because I don't think I've ever seen anybody's downfall celebrated on the race this much. Have y'all? It was pretty refreshing to see a strong all-male team fall like that. I'm not gonna lie, but Jazz and Jag are still in that race, y'all, so don't celebrate too early now. So, of course, I have got to know, what did y'all think of this episode? And what did you think about the votes? Did you like the way they shook out? Do you think they should have voted a different way? Let me know in the comments below. It does feel like the game has opened up a little bit more now and things feel a little bit more equitable. But again, like I said, Jazz and Jag are just playing on an entirely different level than everybody else. So they're really the ones to beat right now. So I'm definitely excited to see what's going to happen in these last few episodes. And of course, I'll be right back here next week to recap that episode with you all. But until then, bye.